They say the world rewards the bold, but maybe what they really mean is that it rewards the loud, the fast, the assertive, the efficient. And if we happen to be someone with a big heart, someone who notices the subtle details, someone who moves with intention, who pauses when others rush, we start to feel like we're living out of sync with what the very culture that surrounds us values. See, there's a grief that comes with having a big heart in a world that really doesn't slow down. Not because it's bad to feel deeply, but because deep feelings have so little space to breathe. And so we learn to tuck it away. We smile when we want to cry. We make small talk when we're aching for depth. We say, I'm good, when we feel like the world is really moving without us. And maybe the most painful part is we begin to wonder if something may be wrong with us. Maybe our heart is just too much. But let's consider a truth. There is nothing wrong with having a big heart. There's something wrong with a world that never makes room for it. See, we're trained to admire grit, not gentleness, to applaud efficiency, not empathy, to celebrate those who bounce back rather than those who sit with what hurts. But when we live in a culture of speed, I think we sacrifice the slow and beauty of genuine connections. Because real connection doesn't rush. It doesn't happen between calendar alerts or in 3 second scrolls. It needs space and attention and patience. And so when we show up with these things, with softness and sincerity, we often feel like aliens in a world that has forgotten how to feel. And we become the ones who remember birthdays, who send long messages, the ones who linger after conversations to ask, so how are you really? But instead of being met with gratitude, we're often met with confusion, with distance, with people who don't know how to receive what we are offering. And that hurts. It makes us question whether our way of loving, like our slowness, our attentiveness, our emotional honesty, if these things are just liability in a world that keeps pushing for more, faster, or now. But here's the deeper truth I think that most people miss, and that's our big hearts are not weak. They're actually courageous because they refuse to collapse into cynicism. They refuse to stop caring even when the world doesn't seem to care back. And that refusal to harden is radical, especially in a culture where everyone's protecting themselves. Like being emotionally open is an act of rebellion. And it's one that we've been quietly carrying for years. So let's pause here. If our heart has felt like a burden, it's not because it is one. It's because people have forgotten how to make room for it. And if we wait for the world to suddenly slow down for us, we may be waiting forever. So instead, we can actually start by choosing to slow down anyway, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's misunderstood, even when it feels lonely. Because we're not broken for moving differently. We're just moving in alignment with something that's deeper than the culture around us. See, I think we're listening for what's real. And sometimes that means we're learning to hold space for ourselves when no one else really knows how. We're not here to become more palatable. We're here to become more whole. And there's a peculiar pain in being the one who's always seeing, the one Like we notice, for example, the micro expressions that others might miss. We read between the lines. We can feel the shift in someone's voice or a presentation, even if they're saying, I'm good or I'm fine. And while that level of sensitivity is a gift, it can also be exhausting because when we notice everything, we carry more than most people ever realize. We carry the unspoken grief in a friend's smile. We carry the loneliness that's tucked beneath a partner's silence. We carry that emotional residue of rooms that we walk into, even if we had nothing to do with the chaos that was left behind. And it's no wonder that so many people with big hearts feel tired and exhausted all the time. They're not lazy, they're not broken, they're just tired. Tired of holding space for emotions that no one else wants to name. And it's just not emotional fatigue. It's actually a spiritual depletion. It's a feeling of being stretched thin, not from doing too much, as much as from feeling too much in a world that rewards numbness. So we try to adapt. We make ourselves quieter. We minimize what we notice. We play along with surface level conversations, even when we're starving for depth. But here's the thing I think we need to reclaim, and that's our capacity to feel deeply and not seeing that as a flaw that we have to fix. It's a compass, a map, a quiet rebellion in a world that's forgotten how to pause. And even when it feels like no one else gets it, we're not alone in this way of being. There are others who are quiet and fierce and wide-hearted souls who are scattered across this fast-moving world. People who still believe in tenderness. People who still value meaning over momentum. So we may feel out of place, but we're not out of purpose. See, there's moments that many of us have had. The moment that we think, maybe I should just stop caring. Maybe I should stop caring so that I can hurt less from feeling too much. And it's understandable because when we give and give and give, and the world keeps sprinting ahead without ever stopping to notice, it's easy to wonder if soft hearts even have a place here. But numbing ourselves is not the answer. Because when we numb our pain, we're also numbing our joy. When we shut down our compassion, we in essence lose access to the very thing that makes us us. The goal was never to become untouchable. The goal was to become unshakably real. And part of being real means we feel it all. The beauty and the ache, the joy and the grief, the lightness and the weight. Our big hearts weren't built to survive the world by hiding. They were built to reveal what's possible when we show up as we are, not who the world told us to become. So if we're going to survive this pace, we need spaces that honor our rhythm. People who move slowly enough to feel with us. Practices that protect our tenderness, our vulnerability, instead of punishing it. And maybe most of all, we need permission. Permission to stop apologizing for feeling. Permission to take up emotional space. Permission to say, this hurts, and not feel ashamed for saying it. See, somewhere along the way, many of us learned that being too much, like being too emotional or too present or too affected, was a liability. Maybe we were told to lighten up. Maybe people got uncomfortable when we shared what we saw or felt. Perhaps we were praised for being easygoing when in truth, we were just silently carrying the weight alone. And so we learned how to contort, how to shrink ourselves to fit into rooms that that felt allergic to depth, how to perform steadiness even while we were unraveling on the inside. But those versions of us, the composed one, the agreeable one, the chill one, they were just armor. They were forged out of necessity and not truth. Because deep down, we are not indifferent. We are affected. And that's not something to hide. That's something to honor. See, the world might move fast, but we don't have to match its pace to prove our value. We don't have to keep sprinting to keep up with people who've never learned how to sit still. We don't have to pretend that the news doesn't shake us, or that grief doesn't really follow us home. See, feeling it all is not a problem. It's actually a sign of your aliveness. And even when it overwhelms us, our tenderness is still trustworthy. But here's the part we often miss. See, big hearts also need big boundaries. Not walls, not shutdowns, not ultimatums, not those kind of things, but boundaries that protect the parts of us that feel so much. Because the truth is, if we don't slow down for ourselves, no one else will do it for us. See, we have to decide what conversations nourish me, or what people help me feel seen, or what spaces invite my full aliveness. And just as importantly, what drains me, or what disrespects my emotional bandwidth, what environments pressure me to rush past what I'm truly feeling. See, we can love the world deeply without sacrificing ourselves to it. Having a big heart doesn't mean we have to say yes to everything. It means that we choose carefully. We respond intentionally. We discern what's ours to carry and what's not. And maybe that's the real work. To live from our big hearts without abandoning them. To stay connected to compassion without being consumed by it. To say, I care, while also saying, I matter too. Because in a world that doesn't slow down, we become sacred interruptions. We become living proof that presence is still possible, and that connection matters, and that being fully human is still worthy and something worth fighting for. Maybe we've been taught that emotional depth is a liability, or it's too fragile for leadership, or too complicated for relationships, or even too inconvenient for progress. But here's what the world often forgets, and that is empathy is not weakness, it's wisdom. And sensitivity is not fragility, it's a radar. Having big hearts does not make us naive, it actually makes us awake. And while the world keeps spinning fast, some of us are actually building a new rhythm. One that honors presence over performance. One that honors intimacy over image keeping, or truth over keeping up with the pace of everyone else. We may not move quickly, but we do move meaningfully. And in a world of constant output, that's radical. So let me tell the truth here. Sometimes having big hearts hurts. It means we notice what others miss. It means that we stay up late thinking about what someone said 2 weeks ago. It means that we might be holding space even when no one's holding us. But here's the other side of that coin. We're the ones who remember birthdays. We're the ones who catch the moment when someone's voice shifts. We're the ones who make room at the table when no one else does. And in a world that's starving for realness, that That kind of a heart is gold. So, what do we do with our big hearts in this too fast-paced world? We don't shrink them. We instead strengthen them. We build lives that don't just tolerate our sensitivity, but also require it as well. We stay close to the people who help us breathe slower. We create environments that honor what's real over what's impressive. We dare to show up as we are, not just for others, but for ourselves. We learn to be seen without apologizing. We learn to feel without flinching. And we learn to love without losing ourselves. And when the world says, speed up, we get to say, not this time. Because perhaps what the world really needs isn't more hustle as much as more honesty. Maybe it doesn't need more people who can do it all. Maybe it needs people who can feel it all and still choose to show up with integrity and care. And if that's us, if we're the ones who carry far more, if we are the ones who sense more, then let's stop pretending that's a flaw. That's a feature. That's a gift. It's a way of being that disrupts numbness and invites presence. And in a world that doesn't slow down, we can still choose to live differently. We can still lead with our hearts, not in spite of the speed around us, but because of it. Because someone has to remember what really matters. Someone has to make space for the sacred. Someone has to show the world what tenderness is and that it's not obsolete. And perhaps that someone is us. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear. Do you resonate?